Hey everybody, today I want to talk about something a little bit different, and it's nothing to do with my website. I just want to talk about a Beatle item that I've been after for a very long time, and I finally added it to my collection. It's kind of amazing that I haven't had this in my collection up until this point, but it's always been something that's either been way too expensive or just really, really hard to find. But I finally have added to my collection the Beatles Magical Mystery Tour EP. Now this is a stereo pressing, and this is from the UK. This is a later pressing though. This is from 1981. I would hope to someday get an original from 1967. I'd like to get a mono and a stereo, but for now I'm really, really happy that I picked this up. I got this one on eBay, and I got it for a good price, which is why I finally picked it up. Now this EP, for those of you who don't know, when the Beatles originally released Magical Mystery Tour in 1967, they didn't have, in the UK, they didn't have enough songs to put out a whole complete album, and they had too many songs to put out just a single EP. So they did something that at the time was pretty weird to do, and they put out a double EP, which turned out to be this Magical Mystery Tour. And then of course in the United States, where EPs were not popular at all, let alone double EPs, Capitol Records put together an album of all the EP songs on one side, and then all the leftover A-sides and B-sides from 1967 on the other side of the album. But let's talk about this EP, and let me show you a little bit of what this looks like. Now the first thing I noticed is that it's made really, really well. Now this is of course from 1981, so I don't know what the original EP, how that was made, if it's better or worse than this 1981 pressing. But this one is very, very solid, and this is in pretty good shape. I would say it's in probably VG plus shape is what I would call it. Everything's intact. The first thing I did notice visually is on the back. I'm used to seeing the back cover of the American pressing, which I could show you right here. And that's the American pressing on the back. And then this is the back of the EP. Now, it looks like to me that you can see a little bit more on the back here. Or no, actually you can't see more, but it looks like the coloring is quite different. For example, this lady who's wearing an orange, she's got like a very light kind of orange dress on the EP, but on the album it comes across as almost like a red, like a blood orange look. So that's a little bit different as far as the coloring goes. And obviously the front cover for the American release and the EP is quite different. Obviously, though, they just took this and put it right there and then added a bunch of stuff around it. We'll keep this here just so you can get a visual of the American version. Now, when you open it up like this, and the first record is inside a sleeve here. So I'll show you what the record looks like, and it's cool that it's in the original black inner sleeve. And of course, it's on the Parlophone label. And this is side 1, which has Magical Mystery Tour and Your Mother Should Know. Now, that's another thing, that the order of the songs on the EP is quite different to the order that I'm used to hearing on the American album. Now, the American album starts with Magical Mystery Tour, but then it goes into Fool on the Hill and then Flying. On the EP UK version, it goes Magical Mystery Tour, Your Mother Should Know, and then I Am the Walrus is the third song on the second side. So that's kind of a way different order there. And these play, by the way, at 45 RPM. And I have listened to this, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what is the sound quality like? The sound quality is pretty good. Granted, this is a 1981 pressing, so I would imagine that the 67 pressings are a little bit better. I don't know, of course, because I've never heard an original UK EP of Magical Mystery Tour. So I'm assuming that the original ones sound better. This one sounds pretty good. I would say it's comparable to a stereo US version as far as the sound quality. Not great. These records, by the way, are in probably VG plus condition as well. They're not pristine, but they're not bad at all. So, and I'll show you the second record as well, which is in the back in its own little pouch as well. And the second one looks exactly the same as the other one. This has got a little bit of hair on there, which I will try to blow off and grab from the edge. There we go. Side 3, and side 3 has Fool on the Hill and Flying, and then the final side has Blue Jay Way, which is a very cool song by George Harrison that I'm sure you all know. All right, let's put the actual discs to the side and let's talk about the booklet. Now the booklet, in my opinion, it's so much cooler inside the EP. The American booklet is cool because it's larger, obviously, but I feel like the British one, it has more of like a comic book feel to it, which I think is kind of cool. So when you open it up, and I'm going to try to do this without destroying this completely, and so you can see what's happening. You open it up, you get this cool first image here of the Beatles as magicians, and it gives that little blurb there kind of describing Magical Mystery Tour. And then you get the first page, and I'll just kind of leaf through here and try to do this the best way I can. I've always loved this booklet, and the photos are very, very cool. A lot of different shots from the movie. There's Ringo and Paul dressed up as magicians. There's, of course, the I Am the Walrus film sequence, which is probably the best thing in the whole film. And then, turn the page here. Here is John with an interesting mustache. And then here's where the comic book begins. Now this is like the comic retelling of the film. Now here, obviously, it's quite a bit smaller. And then I'll show you, for those of you who don't know, this is, by the way, the mono remaster from 2014 that came out. Now the booklet inside the American one, of course, is much larger. But let's get to the comic part of it. There's the comic. So it's much larger, obviously, than the EP version. But I just kind of like the EP comic a bit more. It just, I don't know, it has a more of a feel to it. And also the paper inside of here is a bit different than the paper inside of the American release, which is a little bit more glossy. The British one, this one is a little bit more, has a little bit less gloss to it, a little bit more grit, which is kind of cool. So I'll keep flipping through here as best I can without destroying it. Another very great photo of the Beatles. And the coloring in here is really cool. Okay, now here's where it gets a lot different. This picture, this famous picture of the Beatles during I'm the Walrus, has been broken up inside this EP. And then you get the lyrics with this yellow paper, which I think is very cool. You don't get that with the American release of Magical Mystery Tour. I always love when the lyrics are printed, and especially when the Beatles did it, because I think the Beatles were one of the first ever pop artists or rock pop artists to ever print their lyrics, with Sgt. Pepper, of course. I could be wrong there. There could be someone who did that before them, but they famously, of course, did that on Sgt. Pepper, printed the lyrics out. And then there's more of the comic and the story, and of course, great photos from the movie. Just a very, very cool. There's John, of course, shoveling the spaghetti onto the large woman's plate. That was a dream that John had, and a scene that he wrote for the movie. He talks about it in the Beatles anthology. By the way, if you've never seen the Beatles anthology, what are you doing? Stop this. Go get it somewhere. It's on DVD. You can pick it up for a very, very, very good price online. And it's totally just worth watching if you've never seen it. It's going to blow your mind. But John talks about this very scene. And then we're getting towards the end here. There's the Your Mother Should Know dance sequence. And then you get to the end. And another cool thing about this EP, of course, is that you get it has the flaps on here that all the British sleeves had. But it's got this cool track listing. I don't know if you can even see it. Might be kind of hard, but I'll try to hold it there. And of course, it lists produced by Big George Martin. But I think the really cool thing is that there's a box down here that says, "Hurry now, don't delay, amaze your friends and write today." And it says, "To the Beatles official fan club." And it says, it's cool because it says, "The Beatles official fan club, Frida Kelly." And of course, there's a great documentary about Frida Kelly, who is the Beatles fan club secretary, and worth checking out. It's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix, but definitely a really cool documentary. Very short, but very good. And then also it has, you could write to get the Beatles official Beatles monthly book or magazine, which of course is great too. So it's cool to see, it's just cool to see something from when the Beatles were actually an active band, and you could actually join their fan club and get their monthly book. Granted, this is, of course, from 1981, when the Beatles were not, but it's a nice reproduction of the original EP from 67, when, of course, they were together. So that's it. I just wanted to share this really, really cool addition to my Beatles collection. I will treasure it because, and by the way, I got this on eBay, and the person that I got it from wrote a really, really nice note. They did not have to do that. They wrote a really nice note inside the package that said that they've had this for a long, long time and they've loved it, and they are happy to be passing it on to another Beatle fan. So that's always kind of cool when someone puts like a personal note like that inside of something, because they didn't have to do that, obviously. Yeah, so I'm very happy to have this, and I would love to know in the comments below if any of you have an original Imagine Nursery Tour EP from the UK from 67, either if you have a stereo or a mono. I definitely would like to pick up eventually a stereo and a mono of the EP. So that's it for now. By the way, stay tuned. I am going to be posting a lot of new records to my website, neilmeetsvinyl.com, including Beatles records. So stay tuned. I think you'll be pretty excited by what I'm about to be posting. So that's it for now, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.